Good evening. It's lovely to see you again after the 5-day off period. Stay tuned for updated news on Vietnam's economy during the week. It's standing between April the 28th and May the 4th, 2014. In the week headlines. Bank's credit rose 0.62% as of April the 22nd. As much as $4.9 billion of FDI is committed into Vietnam between January and April. The need to develop microfinance sector in Vietnam is selected to be the theme of this week's Business Talk. It's joined by a specialist in the field, Mr. Samuel Goyer, Senior Financial Officer of the World Bank in Vietnam. First of all, let's begin with this week's figures. According to the State Bank of Vietnam as of April the 22nd, the whole system credit to the economy rose by 0.62% compared to the end of 2013. Total means of payment increased by 3.93%. Capital mobilization grew 3.09% compared to the end of last year. System liquidity has been ensured. Interbank interest rates have fallen and stabilized at low levels. Interest rate on existing loans continue to be cut by credit institutions. As of April the 3rd, 2014, outstanding loans with interest rate about 15% per year accounted for 5.5% of the total outstanding loans. Loans with interest rate about 13% per year accounted for 16.62%, down from 31% in June 2013. At the April press conference of the State Bank of Vietnam, the non-performing loans of the banking sector by the end of February were announced at 122 trillion dong or $5.8 billion, accounting for 3.86% of the total debt balance. However, the bank said the bad debts would be up to nearly 308 trillion dong or $14.66 billion, accounting for 9.71% of total debt balance, if restructured bad debts were included. Earlier, the National Financial Supervisory Commission said the bad debt of the banking system is approximately 9%, instead of the 15% as reported by Moody's service. According to the General Statistics Office, Vietnam welcomed over 3 million foreign tourists in the first 4 months of 2014, a surge of 27.3% over the same period last year. Visitors from Hong Kong topped the list with the highest rise of 170.2%, followed by Germany 114.5% and China 46.9%. In April alone, the country greeted 746,000 overseas visitors, a year-on-year rise of 5.1%. The tourism sector plans to serve 8 million foreign and 37.5 million domestic tourists this year, grossing 230 trillion dong or $10.8 billion in revenue. In 2013, Vietnam received 7.5 million foreign visitors, a year-on-year rise of 10.6%, and paying 200 trillion dong and $9.4 billion to the state budget. And coming up next is some major macroeconomic and investment news. The Foreign Investment Agency under the Ministry of Planning and Investment reported Vietnam were estimated to have attracted $4.85 billion of FDI in the first 4 months of this year, down 40.9% on year. In the period, the country granted business registration certificates for 390 new FDI projects worth $3.22 billion, down 34.6% on year, and allowed 140 operating FDI projects to add $1.62 billion, down 50.3%, bringing the total newly registered and added FDI fund to $4.85 billion, down 40.9% from a year back. Of the sum, Vietnam has disbursed $4 billion, up 6.7% on year. The processing and manufacturing sector attracted the highest attention of foreign investors, with 204 newly registered projects Totally new registered and added capital hit $3.6 billion, accounting for 74.3% of the country's total FDI. The real estate sector came the second, with 7 new projects, total $392.3 million, accounting for more than 8%, followed by the construction sector with 37 new projects, totaled $237 million, accounting for 4.9%. The institutional reform mission was high on the agenda at the Spring Economic Forum organized by the National Assembly Economic Committee, or NACE, in Quảng Ninh Province on April the 28th. Addressing at the event, Dr. Nguyễn Đình Cung, standing head of the NACE, said, although economic institutional reforms have been pushed forward for many years and regarded as a strategic breakthrough, their influences have been really limited. The root cause is the lack of a systematic view of Vietnam's industrialization process, as well as the clear-cut development philosophy serving as a base for a suited economic institution. Delegates therefore stressed that institutional reforms require efficient steps and must be done systematically. They all agreed that Vietnam should prioritize reforming public finance and administration, otherwise other restructuring would be meaningless. The National Assembly Committee for Economic Affairs predicted Vietnam GDP is likely to increase by 5.71% this year, but its economic growth will struggle to reach the set target of 5.8%. According to the committee, the GDP will gradually recover by up to 5.89% in 2015. Although the impact of short-term economic growth is still bound, there have been some positive changes like improved credit growth, high credit quality, and investment efficiency. Looking at this year's economic outlook, the committee said the economy in general and trade in particular will have more opportunity as opposed to challenges. Remarkably, after a long period of fluctuations between macroeconomic instability and economic downturn, the economy has become more stable due to the government's great efforts and international facilitation. Governor of the State Bank of Vietnam, Mr. Nguyễn Văn Bình, announces the macroeconomic situation and monetary market will become stable later this year and into next year, with basic interest rate down between 1.5 and 2%. Accordingly, the exchange rate will also be stable, or down just 1% from now to the end of the year. Banks have shown good liquidity, while foreign exchange reserves reach a record high of $35 billion. The government said that loan outstanding balance of small and medium-sized enterprises account for 60% of the whole banking system outstanding loans. If the SMEs encounter difficulties, the banking sector will also have troubles. The State Bank of Vietnam have cut back lending interest rate over the past 2 years, making them far better than they were 2 and 3 years ago. Further interest rate cuts will depend on the macroeconomic situation. According to the State Bank of Vietnam's Credit Department, in the coming time, the bank will focus on the deployment of the 10 trillion dong credit package for the fisheries sector. Accordingly, the capital of this package will be for businesses and fishermen to build new iron-hard ships and upgrade old ships for offshore work. The investment is determined in the direction of linking the value chain from exploitation, farming to processing, consumption, sticking to agricultural restructuring plan. This credit package will be on preferential interest rate of 5% per year, with maximum loan term of up to 10 years. Along with that, the State Bank of Vietnam will also prepare a credit package of up to 12 trillion dong for replanting coffee trees in the Central Highlands, with the preferential interest rates. In addition, the Central Bank will coordinate with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development in developing and approving of the plan for coffee tree replanting to be the basis for lending of the banking sector. Vietnam is said to be one of the countries making robust progress in protecting computer intellectual property rights. The latest study from the BSA Software Alliance showed Vietnam had risen from the country with one of the highest piracy rates in the world, up 92% in 2004, to one that had brought it down to 81% in 2011. Though this is still high compared to the regional average of 60%, Vietnam has received recognition from interested international organizations for its efforts. The strong legal system and active efforts of enforcing activities in protecting software copyright have currently been remarkable in the country. The government had been a leader in obeying software copyright when making recent purchases of software for its agencies. Construction Minister Trịnh Đình Dũng reported by mid-April the number of transactions in real estate market in Hanoi doubled compared to last year's final quarter. The property market has begun to show positive signs with a recent increase in capital inflows. Meanwhile, the State Bank of Vietnam said by the end of March, investment credit and real estate business increased by 3.95%, much higher than last year's figure of 1.09% for the first quarter. And now the foreign trade news. We continue the bulletin.
According to the Vietnam Coffee Cocoa Association of VITV, Vietnam is expected to sell more than 1.5 million tons of coffee to the world market in 2014 to earn $3 billion. In the first quarter of 2014, a total of 602,000 tons of Vietnamese coffee worth $1.2 billion was exported, up 25.3% in volume and 14.9% in value year-on-year. In the first 2 months, Vietnam's coffees were sold at average export price of $1,880 per ton, down 10.2% year-on-year. VITV predicted that the current drought in coffee-growing countries would possibly cause decrease of global coffee output, which is expected to lift up coffee prices. As a result, there is a high opportunity for Vietnam to boost its coffee exports, as the country accounts for 60% of the world's Robusta output.
According to the statistics from the General Department of Customs, Vietnam exported $3.66 billion worth of goods to Japan during the first quarter, up 17.3% year-on-year. During the review period, crude oil took the lead in terms of export turnover with $620 million, up 8%. It was followed by textiles and garments with $589.5 million, up 11%, and transportation spares and components, up 22%. In contrast, some export items such as computers, electronics and parts, steel and iron, as well as plastic materials, also experienced a decline in volume. Currently, Japan is Vietnam's second-largest trade partner in Asia after China.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, farm exports jumped 13.8% from a year earlier to $9.69 billion in the first 4 months of 2014. The ministry's latest report showed that in April alone, export value from farm produce were estimated at $2.63 billion. Key agricultural export items reached approximately $4.74 billion, up 5.8%, including $2.22 billion from aquatic products, up 31.2%, and $2 billion from the fishery sector, up 20.4%. Among high hard currency earners were rice, coffee, rubber tea, cashew nuts, and cassava. The United States, China, and Netherlands remains Vietnam's largest importers of cashew nuts, making up 28.44%, 20%, and more than 9% of its total export value. Limitations in foreign languages and lack of soft skills are among the reasons why a large number of laborers, especially new graduates in Vietnam, can't find suitable jobs. In addition, their professional skills fail to meet the demand of businesses. A report will give an insight into the problem.
As one of the firms with high recruitment demand, Mr. Nguyễn Xuân Phú, chairman of Sun Hao Group, notes that most of laborers, especially new graduates, fail to meet their recruitment requirements. The jobs require experience, especially soft skills such as foreign language use, group work, communication skills, and adoption skills to new changes and new situations.
Về mặt lượng lao động đăng ký tuyển dụng thì rất là nhiều, nhưng để tuyển được những người lao động mà phù hợp với cái yêu cầu công việc thì thực sự là khó khăn. Và mặc dù thì chúng tôi cũng đã có rất nhiều cái chính sách đãi ngộ thu hút nhân tài, nhưng về cơ bản thì tôi thấy là những cái lao động, đặc biệt những cái sinh viên mới ra trường ấy, thì các em còn thiếu rất nhiều kỹ năng, đặc biệt là cái khả năng về tự tin, chủ động trong việc là thường không đáp ứng được yêu cầu, mà thông thường là những cái sinh viên trẻ thì họ hay chờ đợi những người sếp giao việc, rồi chờ đợi sự hướng dẫn đào tạo công việc, thiếu chủ động và đặc biệt những các kỹ năng thực tế trong công việc là rất thiếu.
Agreeing with Mr. Phu's viewpoint, Mr. Nguyễn Tiến Cường, Head of Administration and Human Resources Department at FSI Vietnam, says many young employees are weak at soft skills and fail to meet the job requirements despite their good qualifications. They are not well aware of rights and responsibilities and lack of discipline in working.
Không chỉ tôi mà rất nhiều người cũng cho rằng là cái chất lượng đào tạo của chúng ta phần lớn là thấp. Bởi vì các bạn ra trường, đối với cả công ty tôi mà nói, thì có những công việc thì rất là đơn giản. Ví dụ như cái dự án triển khai số hóa này, bọn tôi thì chỉ cần trung cấp có thể làm được. Nhưng có những công việc cao đẳng đại học thì các bạn ra trường bên tôi đều phải đào tạo lại ít nhất là khoảng 1 tháng để các bạn nắm được công việc và tiếp nhận thông tin để làm tốt được công việc. Và chất lượng đào tạo là đáng chú ý của chúng ta hiện nay thấp. Nếu như họ thiếu tiếng Anh thì họ cần phải bổ sung tiếng Anh, họ thiếu tiếng Nhật, họ phải bổ sung tiếng Nhật để có thể đáp ứng được cái mong muốn về nhu cầu việc của họ tại một số loại hình doanh nghiệp mà bản thân họ có khả năng.
It can be seen that along with the development of the society, soft skills are highly appreciated and many recruiters consider these skills as important requirements. However, at present, a large number of laborers and most of young laborers are not well trained in terms of soft skills. During the time waiting for the changes in training approach, many students are actively sharpening their soft skills for their future jobs.
Em nghĩ rằng là muốn có việc làm trong tương lai ấy, thì không chỉ bằng cấp là cái đem lại cho mình, mà em nghĩ là kỹ năng mềm, đấy là một cái rất cực kỳ quan trọng, nó sẽ chiếm 70 đến 80% khả năng có việc của mình. Các công ty kiểm toán nước ngoài thì hầu hết để khi tuyển dụng vào thì họ sẽ đào tạo lại từ đầu cho mình, và cái họ ấn tượng về mình đấy chính là kỹ năng của mình, cái kỹ năng làm sao mình thuyết phục được họ, đấy em nghĩ là cái quan trọng nhất.
In the near future, most of businesses will update their technology, which requires laborers to be good at professional skills, such as computer skills, and well adapted to new technology and equipments, along with other soft skills and foreign languages. This is an urgent demand for human resources training strategy in Vietnam. Ministries and relevant agencies should pay attention to this matter so that each labor can meet the demand on both professional skill and soft skill set by businesses.
Microfinance institutes have developed strongly all over the world in the past few years and played an increasingly important role in domestic and regional economies. The financial service, however, is not well developed in Vietnam. VITV reporter had a talk with Mr. Samuel Goyer, Senior Financial Officer of the World Bank in Vietnam. He shares valuable recommendations on developing microfinancial organizations in the country.
Hello, thank you very much for being with us today. As you know, microfinancial activity have played an important role in poverty reduction of developing countries like Vietnam. So what do you think about these activities in Vietnam in the past few years?
Vietnam has been concentrating and growing very fast over the past few years, and its banking system is quite large now. Unfortunately, the microfinance activities have not developed as much as they could have. But if you look at it another way, you have certain institutions which have been quite dominant in lending to the poor and also providing support for different programs for the masses. VBSP, Vietnam Bank for Social Policy, has several customers, more than 7 million, if I'm not mistaken, households as customers. And they have 17 or 18 different programs to support different things. 1/3 of their programs, I believe, support education for the poor. 1/3 of the programs support really poor, whether it's with agriculture, with household related issues, etc. Where we need to make a distinction is that the typical microfinance, which is observed across the world, has developed into an activity where you have to have sustainability. That aspect in Vietnam, for example, the institution like VBSP, is not that yet developed.
Could you give comments on the differences between Vietnam and other countries in performing microfinancial activities?
Where the way Vietnam has developed, they have still a very concentrated focus through the Vietnam Bank for Social Policy in addressing many households. Now, the access to this institution is quite large, but at the same time, the access can also become a hurdle for the growth of other institutions. Right now, you have license for 2 or 3 microfinance institutions. They are concentrated in particular areas, and they have still limited scope of work. VBSP operates and supports a lot of the poor and microfinance borrowers, but its activities are not market oriented, which means that it has significant costs for the government, and at the same time it basically offers a cheap alternative to a consumer, making it difficult for any other entrant to get into the market.
What are the challenges faced by international organizations in doing microfinancial activities in Vietnam?
In fact, in the rural areas, there are only a few banks. Most of the banks concentrate in urban areas. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, if I want to come in, I want to have good knowledge of the industry and the sector. Do I have that? I would argue that there is some information, but not enough. And that's where the government can probably play a very strong role in trying to give more information about the borrowers and about the industry, which can then stimulate activity and raise the interest of the foreign investor, right, or somebody who wants to participate. But right now in Vietnam, that has not advanced to that degree. I do understand there is work going on, but I think at this time, if a foreign investor comes, he cannot get good information from that source as well, and that limits.
So what should we do to improve the effectiveness of these activities in the country?
In Vietnam, I think despite a fast growth of the banking sector, there are still a lot of people who do not have good financial services. And I think it's important that when you look at microfinance in Vietnam, you look at beyond just loans. You can look at other areas like microinsurance has grown quite a bit and is doing very well across the world. You have to look at micro housing loans. You have to look at ways in which you can have small payment systems. Like in Philippines, now you can transfer funds from a cell phone to a cell phone. In other countries also, they're moving towards good transfer of funds through small systems which are less costly.
Once again, thanks for joining our talk today.
And that's all for now. Thank you so much for your attention. For comments and feedbacks, you can reach us by email at intovietnam@vitv.vn or give us a call at 0422208288. Enjoy the day and goodbye for now.